All right, this is Bradley Meyer with the DePIN Connection. We are joined today by Alex Rawitz from Dimo, obviously a project that I'm a big believer in, have a big fleet myself. But Alex, thanks for joining us. I know you're super busy these days.
Bradley, it's awesome to be here. I'm always excited to talk about Dimo.
Awesome. And I'm rocking the OG hat from when I visited you guys. I think that was a year and a half ago now. Hard to believe it's been that long.
It was a while ago, but glad to see that you still have that.
Perfect. Well, to get these kicked off, man, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background leading up to Demo, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So I'm Alex, I'm one of the co-founders of Dimo, and I'm the COO of Digital Infrastructure Inc., which is the core developer really for Dimo. I've been in the tech world for over a decade, and I've worked at IoT companies, I've worked at fintech companies, I've worked in crypto, and I would say it's kind of funny. Like Demo is a little bit of an amalgamation of all of those pieces, all of those experiences. And we started this about 3 years ago at this point, a little bit over 3 years ago. We got the kind of Demo ball rolling. So to hit a milestone like 100,000 vehicles connected in just 3 years is pretty exciting.
For sure. And you guys hit that milestone today, actually. So
yeah, what amazing! It's like super fortuitous timing. We've been watching the clock on that, or the metrics on that, thinking it's going to happen sometime in the next few days.
For sure. Yeah, I've been keeping my eye on it for sure. And to your point, 3 years ago, so you all started in the bear market too. And I know it's a little bit of a grind. A lot of projects launching the bull markets a lot easier. And you all have kept your foot on the gas pedal that whole time.
When we started building, it was still a good time, and then it was there was a good amount of interest. When we launched the token, it was pretty low in the bear market, and that to us was actually like it was a good time for us to get a lot of things sorted out and to really focus on building. It's, as everyone always talks about, building. The bear markets are a time to build, and so we really embraced it that way. And we knew that would be really good for the project as well, because we could establish ourselves, and most importantly, our credibility in the bear market, so that when we did come around to the bull market and people were excited again, we would be one of those projects that's a really good example of how to keep building.
For sure. And I guess that brings me to our next question, which is the origin story for Demo and what Demo actually stands for, because it is an acronym, right?
It is. It stands for Digital Infrastructure for Moving Objects.
Okay.
And that acronym came from one of the Demo co-founders, Andy. And we've always conceived of Demo. A lot of people think about Demo as just being very car related, and we are. Like, we're hyper focused on getting this $1 trillion auto industry to become more efficient and better for users. But we've always imagined Demo to be agnostic to the exact kind of moving object. It could be a scooter in the future, it could be a bike, could be a train, could be a robot in a factory. We believe that when it comes to coordinating like real world movement between these kinds of activities, there's going to be a lot of similar principles. And you're going to want verified data across all of these kinds of vehicles or objects. So, we have big plans for what that will look like in the future, but it's pretty focused on the biggest category right now, which is cars.
Very cool. And in selecting your team, because I know a few of you all went to Cornell. I don't know if you all knew each other at Cornell or met after the fact. Just curious how you all pulled together and selected the team that you did.
Yeah. So Andy and I actually knew each other from Cornell days, and we met Rob, who was also happened to be a Cornell guy, kind of towards the very end of our time there. We really got to know Rob more in our professional lives afterwards, and then Yev, the CTO, really came in through a connection to Andy, who the two of them were working in the autonomous vehicle industry. So obviously we'd all stayed in touch, and we were all big, into the crypto world and exploring the frontiers of the crypto space. We were early into Helium, thought what they were doing was super, super interesting and novel at a time when, this was DeFi summer when Helium really came out, and it was like, whoa, there's this really kind of totally different thing going on in the telecom space that is using blockchain in one of the most brilliant ways that we've seen. Like that was a huge eye opener for us. And it honestly, like the Dimo team, these four co-founders came together through just like the classic startup, like brainstorming, iteration, pivoting process. It was probably about 6 months of time that we were hacking on ideas, kind of questioning each other, applying to grants, running experiments, doing little POCs, just generally hacking away on things and trying to figure out the direction that we should go. And honestly, once we hit on more or less the version of Demo that you see today, it kind of just all clicked. And it was one of those like know it when you see it moments.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I did a deep dive video on Demo a while back, and I think I characterized you all as like the dream team for this project because all your backgrounds, like, I mean, really impressive backgrounds across the board. But you all kind of bring a different aspect to it. And I think that's why a big part of why you all been able to execute so far. But obviously you all are so committed to the project too. I mean, you're everywhere. You're at every single event. I don't know when you guys find time to sleep, frankly. I mean, there's just constantly new updates and new partnerships announced. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. But you said as Demo is today. So curious, a couple of things. Like number one, I think there is a little bit of a misconception amongst people in the community about what Demo is. I think there's a lot of people who think you're just taking, telematics data and selling it in bulk. And so I'm curious what your elevator pitch is to describe exactly what you all are looking to achieve, and then how that's changed over time since you all first started.
Yeah. That was the initial idea. That was like one of the initial problems we wanted to solve was how do we go get aggregate data about a bunch of cars? You can't, there have been some companies that tried to sell that data, tried to buy it from automakers and sell it. They didn't build great businesses because at the end of the day, like that data is just not as valuable as people think. The elevator pitch is that like your car is a computer, and in the world today, there are already dozens of apps that are a part of your connected car experience. If you have a modern car, you probably have a car from your automaker. You're probably using some form of navigation app. Maybe you drive for Uber or Lyft or somebody like that. Your insurance company probably has an app. You might have a AAA app. You might even have a warranty app. Your dealer might have an app. Like, you might have used products like Road Trippers or a performance tracking app or any kind of there are dozens and dozens of apps out there that are part of your digital car experience. There's millions of people who are in Reddit forums and Facebook groups about their cars because they love the kind of car that they have and they want to connect with other enthusiasts. So millions of people out there are using digital products for their car, and there's no underlying connectivity between all those products. So our pitch is your car has a digital identity, and it can make all of those products better. It can make your insurance product better. It can make buying and selling your car better. It can make your warranty product better. It can make your experience on a social network better because you have data from your car that you can share with others for fun or for discounts or for new services. And so when you connect your car to Demo, you're actually creating that digital identity for your car. It's just like storing data on your phone. It's that simple. And over time, we're building this app store for cars that's going to be filled with useful tools and games and fun things like that give you an amazing connected car experience.
Yeah, and you have is the Ignition program still a thing, right? So to get developers in your ecosystem, because it's going to come down to that, just like you said, the ecosystem, like the applications to.
Yeah.
Part of this is giving people ownership of their data, but then a means to leverage that data, right?
People, and I actually was discussing this with some other founders and investors and entrepreneurs last night. A lot of people think that data ownership is really all about, I'm going to own my data. I'm going to sell it on the the market for people who want to advertise stuff to me. Data ownership is valuable when it allows you to create a relationship with another company. And so, for example, one of the projects we're most excited about, and they just received a grant to keep building on Demo, is a company that's creating a car AI product So they've ingested a bunch of data from service manuals and a bunch of other data about cars. And the missing piece, in order to make something really, really valuable for car owners, is for them to be able to ingest your car data. So you'll have an AI that actually is ingesting your car's data and is trained on, large data sets about other cars. And then you'll be able to ask this AI questions. Maybe you have maintenance related questions. Maybe you have life cycle related questions. Like whatever you want to ask it, you'll be able to ask it and you'll have specific data about your car. And when people talk about the future of AI, this is what matters most. Like the AI doesn't just need a large training set of generic data. It needs your contextual data to be as specific as possible. So I think that's like a great example use case of something that's going to exist on Demo in the not too distant future, and like within the next couple of months. And I think it's going to really start to showcase exactly how data ownership is not about I get some passive income stream, but data ownership is like I can actually now go and access amazing products and apps that I would not have access to unless I had this data.
Okay, well, you beat me to one of my questions I was planning on asking you, which is what are some applications you're excited about? And some of the announcements you all have made, and there's been a lot recently, so it's hard to keep track of everything. Really, one of the things that you guys seem to be really focused on is moving things on chain. And then creating utility around the Demo token, and then really making it easy for non-crypto people to participate. So if you want to speak to those three things, because I know you guys have made a lot of changes around that recently.
Huge subjects, each in their own right. Let me talk first about making the Demo mobile app easy for anyone to use. So we're very deep in the process right now of building a new wallet into the Demo mobile app. We're using some cutting edge tools that are using things like account abstraction, as well as some other protocol related things. We're using those tools to create a new wallet in the Demo mobile app. Today we use Wallet Connect. It doesn't perform as well as we would like on mobile apps. So with this new wallet, anyone who comes into Demo will be able to create an account button with Google or whatever email they choose. And the wires, as they say, will be completely hidden. You won't have to see the blockchain. You won't have to write down a seed phrase. You'll still have the ability to actually take full custody of your tokens if you'd like. We're big believers, and that's very important. But with account abstraction, we can abstract away a lot of the tricky pieces to actually building a blockchain mobile app. And so that's going to be the first piece. And once we have that in place and we have it in the mobile app, we believe fully we can go after anyone in the world. Whether you care about crypto or don't care about crypto, whether you have an old car, new car, you can sign up for Demo. So wallet abstraction is going to be one of the most important things that we do in the next couple of months here.
Very cool. Yeah. And that's one of the things that really drew me to DePIN in general is the fact that, there are a lot of use cases that make sense to non-crypto people. So anything you can do to ease that process to get people onboarded, to the extent that if you can make it so they don't even know that there's any crypto involved, actually, that's how you can really get people to participate. The fact that you have 100,000 vehicles connected already, obviously you're doing something right.
Yeah. So, the first step is we want to make it easy for anyone to have a wallet that allows them to do things on chain, right? That's kind of the first thing that I mentioned. The next is what else has to go on chain. And, for us, the key thing that goes on chain are the permissions that allow a user to share their data, as well as we're calling them developer licenses, but basically the developer identities of people creating these apps. So I gave the example earlier of a car AI app. I want to share my data with this car AI. That way the AI can train on my car and make more specific recommendations for me. Sounds like a great use case. Most people want something like that. The permissions go on chain. So me as a user, I have to, use my wallet to sign a transaction, and won't feel this way, but I'll sign a transaction that says, hey, car AI, you can see my data. And that relationship is actually on chain. So one thing that everyone will be able to see, and of course the blockchain is great at providing auditability without giving away privacy, but you'll be able to see how many drivers and how many cars are building these on-chain relationships. And the car AI might identify itself and say, hey, this is our license. You can see we now have 10,000 cars connected or something like that. And we're, building up the number of people that are connected. But we think that this is fundamentally super important. It sounds like maybe very convoluted stuff. It's simpler under the hood than you might think. But the reason it's so important is that when it comes to privacy and data sharing, we believe in the importance of auditability. And this is actually something that's going to be really, really critical to car manufacturers and to the industry as a whole. So we're going to have basically this baseline tool set that allows you to show where your data is, teach users where their data is ending up, and make sure that they stay in control of that data. So it really is this like full circle, better for users, better for enterprises, auditable but private ecosystem that allows us to scale and actually over time decentralize too.
Love it, man. That's freaking awesome. and I assume like some of the stuff you're doing too is going to change the marketplace for selling your vehicle, right? And having that whole history of your vehicle, if you can put that all on chain, it's immutable, right? So you can prove your vehicle's history. So that'd be pretty cool too. One thing I want to touch on, which is I've seen it in a couple of places, but I think it's really important to talk about. And I would love to see more projects do this. You guys have extended out the token unlocks for employees and investors. And there's a lot of projects out there. People talk about how they're committed long-term to the project, but putting your money where your mouth is, I think, is a whole different thing. So I'm curious, what motivated you all to do that? Because you didn't have to do that.
We are on a multi-decade journey here at Dimo. And, I always kind of look back, like, if you look at the beginning of crypto with Bitcoin, where we are today, it's now been 15 years. And we're still at the tip of the iceberg in adoption. And now maybe like crypto having created a lot of adoption with millions of people around the world is going to help Demo get to faster adoption. But also, we're going into a totally new industry. And for the last 15 years, or at least 10 of those 15 years, thousands of people at hundreds of companies have been working to, for lack of a better word, to red pill, people at banks and payment and financial institutions. And they haven't made a ton of progress. They've made some. So whenever you look at like fundamentally changing an industry, you have to realize it's going to be a multi-decade endeavor. And extending our lockups was actually just a small piece of that like multi-decade journey. We'll probably look at that. Like me personally, would love to even go further and extend further. I just think that like we have so much to build and so much to accomplish over the next few years that like, to even think about stopping now or like making the journey easier now is actually a disservice to everyone involved. And I'm like such a firm believer in like the long-term vision of what we're doing that like we're just committed in that regard.
That's amazing. And like I said, I wish we'd see other projects do that. When I saw that, I was kind of mind blown actually, because it's not something you see in this space a lot, but it does truly show that you all are committed for the long run. And that certainly gives me peace of mind as a deployer. I think at this point I've got 250 AutoPies out in the wild. So
wow, nice.
Yeah. So we're building, man. So let's talk about the participation side real quickly, because you've got, for people that are watching, if you have a vehicle, you can connect through hardware, or if you have, software integrated in your vehicle. Most vehicles connect for free through software. And you start getting Demo rewards by connecting your vehicle. So I guess the first question I have is, what are the key differences there? And do you all, prefer one method versus the other? Does it matter to you how people connect?
It's a great point. And I always like to emphasize for anyone who's listening, if you have a Tesla or they've got the easiest one, but even if you have any other app with your car, Teslas are 100%, like you can definitely connect. Every other car app, it's a little bit harder to tell, but like you should download Demo Mobile now and try. like there's a decent chance if you already use an app, whether that's the Toyota app or the BMW app, like you can probably get connected. There are some variations. It gets down to automaker by automaker specificity, so I can't tell you for certain, but like go download Demo Mobile and try. If you have an older car, and again, it varies a lot by automaker, but say roughly 3 to 4 years old, you're likely going to need to buy a hardware device from Demo in order to connect that car. And that is most likely a result of just the fact that the automakers were not as good about connecting cars, more than 3, 4 years ago. So what is that like? Well, you can buy one or two of these devices. We have an AutoPi here and Demo Macaron here. They both offer different things. The AutoPi offers LTE. It can record a little bit more data and also send more data because it, with a cellular connection can send a lot more. The Macaron's built on helium, which is awesome. And it's actually low power. It's much lower cost. So if you're, cost conscious, you can use the Macaron to get connected to Demo. There are differences, each car is so different in terms of the kind of data that you can collect. Teslas, we get a lot of data on, with a lot of different other kinds of cars. It just really depends. We can see engine load data and error codes and all kinds of information about some cars, and others are a little bit harder to read. I recommend, like, we've been making a lot of progress on decoding cars, basically adding more data for each. You're joining in early, like that's just what you're getting. You're getting an early product to some extent. It's on its way to maturation, and we'll have some new hardware before the end of the year as well. In fact, hopefully sooner than that. And so people are going to have even more options soon.
Gotcha. Okay, that was what I was going to ask next. Is what other hardware options are coming down the pipe? Because part of this too is crypto is very volatile, and looking at historical market cycles, we don't know what's going to happen, but we could be entering into a bull market here potentially, and you have to balance that supply and demand from the extent of if market conditions improve, sometimes you have a huge influx of orders. So how are you all planning around that? Is that part of like adding more hardware options? Is that part of the thought process there? Or
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. We definitely want to. I hate running out of inventory. Everyone thinks like, oh, running out is so good. Like everyone wants a sale that runs out of inventory. And like, that's good maybe for like a week, and basically beyond a week of like a couple of weeks of being out of inventory, it's just lost sales. So we've gone through some pains to make sure that we have enough inventory until we start getting new hardware as well and can really diversify those supply chains. But there's always a chance that as the new demand comes in and more people start coming to Demo, we could run out again. And lead times are always challenging. It's just a tough thing to manage. You never know when a chip gets back ordered. But we're doing our best to make sure we don't run out. Believe me, I feel the pain on more than anyone.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think people have some PTSD from the helium days of the last market cycle, but I mean, I know there have been some lead times at times, and it's really hard to plan for, because when it hits, like orders will come in like out of nowhere sometimes in the crypto space.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to manage. But what is it? I mean, you all have done a great job. Obviously, we just got to 100,000 vehicles connected. Some of those, not all of those, are hardware.
No.
But that does bring me to my next question, because obviously the supply side. We talk about supply, talking about participants, people connecting their vehicles. The other side of the equation, right? And that's one of the criticisms that I think crypto in general, especially DePIN projects, get is, show me the money. Like, where's the revenue going to come from, right? Like, it's great to build the supply, but you need both sides of the equation. So where do you see the biggest opportunities for bringing revenue and utility for the Demo token into the ecosystem moving forward?
So the key thing is that when developers, talked about this earlier, when developers show up to Demo ecosystem, they want access to vehicle data. That could be the first use case we talked about, aggregated, anonymized. Hey, I want to buy 100,000 cars worth of data and build a better underwriting model, do a map, whatever it is. Or much more likely and much more, I think, importantly to the ecosystem is it's the model where, hey, I want to buy data from a specific car. You, Bradley, want to sign up for the car AI, or you want to sell your car on Carvana or CarMax or something like that. And maybe you want to sign up with a new insurance company. In each instance, you want that specific developer, specific enterprise to have access to your data. Could be different types of data. They each have their own needs. But in each one of those instances, that developer needs to pay the Dimo protocol for access to the data. So if you think about the life cycle of your car, maybe you're buying your car and then you're getting insurance and then maybe a warranty, and then maybe you're getting maintenance done and you're using car AI, and maybe you use a road tripping app. All of these apps that are leveraging the data become data consumers. And each of them pays, maybe a few cents, maybe a few dollars, depending on how much data they need. Maybe it's monthly, maybe it's just one time. But over the life cycle of your car, that's going to add up to, we believe, hundreds of dollars per year in spend per car. And all of that leads to, the way that we've set things up today, and this goes to the governance that you were asking about. We're using a data credit model where, in order to access that data, developer has to purchase the data credit, which leads to the burn of Dimo. So it's, I would say it's still on the simpler side of tokenomics. And I would expect us over time to evolve to even some new models. And I think there's a lot of really interesting thinking going on around the DePIN space in particular about new models. But fundamentally, if you think about all of the types of businesses that you interact with over the life cycle of your car, each one of those businesses should consume some data from your car. And each one of those contributes to the demand. So when we look at the potential value of each car on the network, what we see is, hundreds of dollars worth of spend that those cars need to do or that developers need to do for those cars every single year. And that's where we're headed with the economics. That's where we're headed with supporting the Dimo ecosystem for the long run. Here in the next few months, we're actually going to be able to start showcasing that with the first apps built on Dimo, and people will start to be able to track protocol burn and revenue.
Amazing, man. Because right now, for people connecting their vehicles, you guys have baseline issuance. Okay, yep. So there's X amount of Dimo tokens that are set aside. Really is to kind of jumpstart the project, right? That's my understanding of it, to get people, to incentivize people to connect their vehicles. Over time, and this is how all DePIN projects should work, over time, the revenue will start to take over. So as revenue is coming into the ecosystem, like you said, with this new proposal, there would be I think it's DCX, right? It's the data credit token. But to create those tokens, you have to buy and burn Dimo out of the supply.
Yeah, the smart contract takes care of the buying of the Dimo under the hood, because again, you try to limit the steps for people, right? Just to make it easy. But yes, it will be bought and then burned. Yeah.
Okay. So it'll be easy for the consumer, but that's behind the scenes. That's what's happening, basically.
Right. So again, just by making things easy, a lot of people fixate on let's make things easy for the consumer, for the driver. We're also making things easy for the developers, because we don't want to just limit ourselves to developers who are building Web3 things and know how to, set up a developer license on a blockchain. We are going to be releasing our developer console very, very soon. And that allows us to, onboard a developer where they can actually come in, sign in with Google, create their license, do these on-chain activities, burn the DCX or burn the Dimo, mint the DCX. All that stuff can happen without them knowing a damn thing about the blockchain.
Okay. That's amazing. And then let me ask you the other side of this. So let's say your data is driving revenue. Are you then, for having your vehicle connected, are you then getting Dimo rewards as that revenue comes in and Dimo current? Okay.
So that's at least, it's early stage thinking, this hasn't been explicitly passed yet. What I think, you want to reward all the participants that are making the ecosystem work. And so from our point of view, there's a handful of slices of that. There's the driver, there's the integration provider, which is maybe the hardware provider, maybe it's the API provider, but it's the first pipe where data goes from car to Demo. And then there's the Demo node and the protocol itself. So the node is where all the data is stored, managing that data on behalf of the user. And you want to make sure all of those folks get rewarded because they're all participating in the ecosystem. So there is some Demo spent, but there's also some Demo that's returned to the node. We're looking to pass some Demo gets returned to the integration provider. And of course, some Demo goes back to the user. The baseline issuance will go away over time. And there's a way that maybe you can make it self-sustaining. You start topping it up. Those are still we could talk about those kinds of proposals in the future. But those three constituents that I outlined are really what makes the ecosystem possible. And so as the ecosystem gets used, we believe those are the entities that should get rewarded. And so a driver that actually uses the ecosystem more is going to get more rewards. And that's the way things should be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how it becomes self-sustained, right? A lot of other DePIN projects, like they've been great about giving people tokens to participate, but you guys are really putting the mechanisms in place so that eventually, we kind of wean off of that and it becomes a self-sustained product.
Right.
I love the moves you guys are making.
One question that people ask, I was like, oh, does it matter how much I drive? And for us, it doesn't. If you're a Hivemap or a Natix, yeah, it does because they need more miles of road. But for Demo, it doesn't matter how much you drive. People should think of Demo as an app store. And if I have a cell phone, Apple doesn't care how much time I spend on the phone. And actually Verizon doesn't care much either. They don't make much money on my talking minutes. They make money when I download shit over, in the app store, and Apple makes money when I buy shit in the app store. And that's really where Demo is headed with the infrastructure that we're creating and the app store we're creating around vehicles. We don't really care how much you drive. That doesn't matter into how valuable of a participant you are in the ecosystem. What matters is how much of the ecosystem you actually use.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, I want to talk about these DIPs. So Demo improvement proposals. Yeah, there's about 4 to 5 more days that it's open for voting. So if you're a Demo holder, I'm going to put the link in the description below. You just need to register with your wallet, and then you can submit your vote on these. So when you open up the webpage, I'm just going to go from the top down what you'll see. So there's one that combines a bunch, the DIPs 11 through 13, looks like 15, and DIP 7. So from the reading I did, it's just some kind of basic paperwork to renew some licenses for the autopilot manufacturer, some other things. And then there's a part in there to prevent manipulation in the referral program, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's kind of the most interesting and the most important one of these more administrative proposals. It's interesting. We're going to have to, I think, in the long term, it's a little bit unwieldy to have a vote every time, you need, we're talking with some large enterprises about becoming Demo nodes, not in the short run, but in the long run. It'll be a little bit unwieldy to have a full community vote every time that happens. It'll probably have to go to a committee, but in the short run, it's really important that those licenses and things are upheld by the community. The most important part is the referrals. Every system we want valid data. I think there's two things you want. You want valid data and you want valuable users. And in this case, we actually were getting valid data. The cars were real cars, but we had some questions about how those cars were getting connected, whether they were being, we saw basically that somebody was looking to game the referral system and just earn extra Demo by linking up different wallets with different cars. And so that doesn't help build the ecosystem. And so we, wanted to crack down on that, make it a little bit harder to game that system, and to make sure, of course, that we can improve the way referrals work for all great users that are already bringing people to Demo. I mean, we want everyone to tell their friends and family about Demo. And so the referral program is a very essential carrot in helping to grow the ecosystem.
Okay. I think that one makes a lot of sense. I'm absolutely voting in favor of that one.
Cool.
Okay, so then that brings us to the next one. That's DIP6 Amendment 4.
Yes.
Okay, and that has to do with, looks like earmarking $4 million to be allocated to the growth of the ecosystem. So if you want to speak to that one a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Demo Foundation is, of course, the steward of the Demo protocol and funds much of the development that goes into building core technology at Demo. And some of the core technology that we have, that we've been actively working on and are continuing to work on is stuff like the account abstraction wallet, which is going to be core to Demo Mobile, but also power the wallet behind many other auto services. It includes upgrades to the vehicle identity with things like verifiable credentials, other types of data proofs that are going to be important to the ecosystem. We want to open up the Demo node software, obviously very key to decentralizing demos to allow other enterprises to run nodes, other businesses to run those nodes, open sourcing device firmware, building the on-chain developer license, app marketplace. There's just so many pieces, our APIs, so many pieces that the engineers are working on. And this is really just the budget to continue to fund that. So DIP 6 Amendment 4 is basically passing that budget. And people can see, there's a bunch of additional cash held at the foundation. And the Treasury is, of course, going to continue to be well funded into the future. But this is all the good stuff that's going to help us bring Demo to more people in the world.
Perfect. Yeah, and I am absolutely in favor of that one after reading through it. And the other, I talked to a lot of other people in the Demo community. I think for both those two that we just covered, people are very much in favor of moving those forward. Let's see. That brings us to DIP 2 Amendment 2. So this one's interesting because there are certain costs, like for the AutoPi, for example, there's cell connectivity that was included for the first year with the purchase, but there is an ongoing cost there. And to this point, it's my understanding that Demo has been covering those costs, and this is a way to basically cover those costs without us as contributors having to pay a monthly subscription fee. Now, how that would work, according to the documentation, is that a number of points, essentially of the baseline issuance each week, a percentage would go to covering these costs. And I think it comes out to about 12% of the weekly issuance would be going to covering these costs. Is that correct?
Yeah. And just to, lay out all the basics here where you said points and make sure no one gets confused on that first. The way the rewards engine works is that every car that's connected is allocated a certain number of points each week. And those points are dictated by a table. It's in the documentation, you can go read. And it factors in what kind of connection you have, or hardware, software, what kind of hardware, things like that, and how long you've been connected. I've heard a lot of great ideas for factoring other things. Maybe those will come, but that's what matters today. And so there's a certain number of points you can get based on those factors. And then you look at all the cars that were connected that week and you split the tokens up pro rata based on how many points everyone got. So, naturally, as more cars get connected, everyone is earning points, but they're all splitting the same pool of tokens. So the share of tokens gets reduced for each person. That's been a phenomenon, of course, that everyone's seen as the network has grown. Some of the points you made earlier, there's a cost to connecting your car. The only free connection method right now is actually the Tesla API, and it could be only a matter of time before they start to charge for the API as well. The other software connections have a monthly cost associated with it, and the LTE connectivity, as well as even the LoRa connectivity, although that's much smaller. All the connectivity has a cost. We ship the AutoPi, we said a year is included, and actually we've continued to subsidize it way past the year. The company, actually, the Digital Infrastructure Inc. is the one subsidizing that, so we're paying the cost of maintaining these integrations. The real spirit of this is not so much just to give Digital Infrastructure Inc. a cut of tokens. We have spoken with enterprises that have the ability to connect cars. So we're still really early stage, and I can't, divulge a whole lot about what those conversations look like. But, if we're talking to a car maker or a car software middleware provider, of which there's a handful of big names, we want to give them some incentive to bring their cars online. The dream scenario would be to go to a car maker, pick anyone you want to hold in your head, Toyota, BMW, whoever, and give them a cut of getting their cars connected to Dimo. We would love for them to realize that they build an app, but instead of just relying on their own app, they could connect their cars to Dimo, and then every driver who buys a Toyota, BMW, whatever, every driver could have access to dozens of amazing applications, hundreds of amazing car applications, and it's a win-win for everyone. The owner gets better apps, and through this proposal, the car maker would actually benefit by helping to monetize that user. That's like really the long-term spirit of where this is going. In the short run, while we're the ones bearing the brunt of connectivity, like we would earn some of those rewards, but actually the hardware providers would earn these rewards instead over time. And we would continue to decentralize that out. So we think it's a really important evolution for the step forward for Dimo is to have some way to cut the integration provider in.
It makes sense. And I will say there's mixed feelings on this one based on conversations.
I've seen some of those. I'm here for the debate.
I think it's probably more so the number of points or the percentage allocation that's going to this, because if we do have, and I'm not going to speculate on the price of Dimo, but if there is a large appreciation in the value of Dimo over time, that cut could become a lot higher than what the costs are that they're covering, if that makes sense. So I think there's some debate going on about, instead of it be fluctuating and them getting X amount of tokens, if there was a way to automatically, based on a certain dollar amount, a fixed dollar amount, have a DCX, maybe token burn mechanism in place that's automated, based on that weekly's earnings, something of that nature, so that if there is a large appreciation in price, it adjusts with that.
I think that this is ultimately an important thing that's going to allow us to scale Demo far beyond where we are today. And so, if this version isn't palatable to the community, then some version should get that way. And I've seen some of the comments as well. On Twitter, I think a few people mentioned it. One of the things that's I think very encouraging around the discussions that I've had here is that it seems that most people understand where this is coming from and that this is a positive thing. And I haven't sensed a lot of polarization on this subject. People understand that it's got the right spirit, and they may have a reason to maybe update it, but I feel like that the community could get together and probably pass one version of this or another that will incentivize integration providers to provide more or to participate in a more healthy way, but also can preserve the upside that I think many users are looking for.
Exactly. You put it in a better way than I could have, I think. But yeah. So yeah, I'm curious to see. I'm a little bit on the fence on this one. I haven't decided which way or not, but those are some of the conversations I'm having, some of what I'm hearing. So, but I think you're right. I think people, see what the thought is behind this, and that is going to push things forward, and that, some of these costs that have been covered need to ultimately be passed on. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. So I think it's a matter of whether this is the way to do it or maybe a slight adjustment. We'll see. Then that brings me to the last one. That's DIP 4 and 5 Amendment 2. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but this is the DCX, token for revenue coming into the project that interacts with the Demo token, where the Demo token is burned in order to create the DCX, right?
That's exactly right. I think that I hope this one's fairly non-controversial. It's going to allow, it checks a lot of boxes. Developers need to price things in a straightforward way where they're not worried about the fluctuation of token prices.
Right.
I'm a developer. I want to access 1,000 cars. I need to know what that's going to cost. And it's not going to change month to month, day to day. So that's pretty straightforward on the developer side. And then on, the protocol revenue side, I think that there are some, I've been reading more and more about, like, we're kind of getting like this is somewhat modeled on the Helium burn mint model. And I think we're starting to get to another interesting point where I've been having some conversations about, like, what could the next leg of tokenomics look like around this that I think are really interesting. I think this is a great next step. And, Helium is on, so, I don't even know how many hips at this point. Like, we will be continuing to refine and dial this in as a dynamic economic system over the next couple of years, couple of decades, and so on. So hopefully you're supportive of this one too.
Yeah, very much so. I think everyone I've talked to is very much in support of this one as well. So it's really just the one. I think there's some people on the fence, but I mean, I think everyone understands the thought process behind all of these and very much in favor of the vast majority of the language in here. We're coming up on the end of the time you have scheduled here, but really the last couple of questions, you mentioned that obviously with the Macaron, you have integration with Helium. I believe you guys are working with Streamer as well. I mean, are there any other major partnerships that are coming down the pike that you can speak to in the crypto space? Or
in the crypto space, we will be doing, so we're built on Polygon and of course have been really, been getting a lot of support from that team and, like, continue to think it's a great place to be building. But we couldn't resist participating in on-chain summer with Base. So we actually are doing a specific Dimo activation around on-chain summer. It's probably another month of incubation on it, and we're going to launch it in mid-August. But Base has had so much interesting consumer activity, and of course, Coinbase does such a great job marketing, particularly here in the US. We couldn't resist getting involved in that too. So keep your eyes out for the Dimo on-chain summer activation that's coming in the next month.
All right, perfect. And then last thing to close this out. So you hit 100,000 vehicles. What are your next milestones? I mean, where do you see the project in the future looking forward, a year, 5 years? What milestones are you all looking to hit, from participation, revenue standpoint? What are you guys looking forward to?
I'll do them somewhat in a, like, from here looking forward order. I would really love to see 10 Demo apps by the end of this year. And so we have one today. We have Demo Mobile. You can connect your car in Demo Mobile. You can look at your data there. By the end of this year, I want to see 10. Not all 10 might be connect your car. Like I gave the AI example. It might just be go from Demo Mobile to the AI, log in with Demo there, and now it sees your data. But that is a new, distinct Demo app. Our goal is to have 10 of those live by the end of the year. Each of them, buying DCX, burning Demo. Beyond that, the next target's 1 million. I think it'd be really cool if we got to 1 million cars next year. I think that's quite aggressive, but 10x in growth is not impossible. And I would love to see, I don't know if we'll get to 100 apps next year, but maybe like 25 to 50 built on Demo. Yeah, I mean, those are like really I won't overcomplicate it, those are the things that matter. Getting more cars connected and more apps built on Demo.
Fair enough, man. Anything else you want to add?
No, actually, I'll add one thing. And I think that, I've been at a couple crypto conferences recently. I was at ECC last week, and it's been refreshing to feel like the industry is now starting to turn from meme coins and infrastructure to what are real consumer apps. And I'm really proud to be working on Demo and to be working on this app that I think will be one of the premier consumer apps in the next couple of months. And when you see people talking about, hey, what amazing breakthrough consumer things exist, they're going to be like, oh, well, there's Blackbird for restaurants and Polymarket for betting markets and Demo for auto. And, we will be one of those breakthrough consumer applications that I think the industry should become really excited about.
Amazing. And I think you guys are going to get there. I mean, you have the team. I'm excited to be here as early as I am. And anyone else that's watching this video, if you're not contributing yet, definitely check out demo.zone. A lot of good information on there. And for those of us that are all contributing, man, we're early in this, and that's super exciting, man. I mean, it's a dedicated team. They're hitting all the milestones. They're constantly building, all the things you want to see in a project. So Alex, I really appreciate you coming on. I know you're super busy, but thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you, Bradley. We should do this regular thing, give an update once a quarter. Happy to come on, especially when there's governance stuff.
All for it, man.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, man. Take care.